Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Silo, my Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busto, alongside
the other host, Zachary Newton. Welcome back.
We're back with Silo Season 2, Episode 7, called The Dive. I think 2 episodes ago it was called The Descent, right?
I can tell you in 2 seconds. 2 episodes ago was Descent, yes.
Yeah, they're getting pretty, close together here.
Descent, Dive, yeah.
All right, we're doing our instant reaction today. So it'll be a shorty. So if you want to tune in to our deep dive where I wallow and humbly admit that there might be somebody in Silo 17, you'll have to tune into the deep dive. Oh, we're seeing emails. You guys are really annoying. The guy's wrong one time. I don't get it. We don't get emails about, hey, Mario, man, you're so smart. You guessed that Lucas was going to be the Shadow like 3 episodes ago. None of that, right? None of that. It's just, and watch, you're not going to email when Juliette goes across underneath the tunnel from the bottom. But the one time, not the one time, but one of the times I'm wrong.
One of the times, yeah.
Maybe.
Profusely
It's not confirmed yet that somebody's in
It's not confirmed. It's not confirmed, but it sure does look like it's playing out in my favor that there's somebody else there, unless,
It's looking good. I'm starting to think that you're like, you've read the book. I'm starting to think.
I've never read the books. I swear. I don't even own the books.
This was like, in poker when there's like very small percentage chance, the river's coming. And you get that one, the final card flips over. That's essentially what happened here. I was in the clear. I had won that bet, and all of a sudden, it seems like Solo took a lead pipe to the head, and now everything's out the window. And we're not going to talk about that anymore because you guys need to listen to our deep dive episodes, and we appreciate all the support we're getting. We're getting like the most YouTube views we've ever gotten, so that's cool, right?
Very cool.
We're like over 500 views on YouTube, which is a lot for us,
Yeah.
Before we were getting like 100, 200.
No, I think it's awesome. I mean, keep posting, sharing, watching, liking, whatever you're doing, because it seems to be working.
I feel like a lot of our people are migrating to YouTube because we weren't doing these numbers with season 1. So we're seeing like lower numbers on Spotify, but then we're seeing like the same percentage increase in YouTube. So I feel like people have jumped ship on Apple and Spotify a little bit.
It's possible. Also, the last time we did Silo in season 1, we didn't do the video podcast. We only did the video podcast for, I want to say, the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Because, we just didn't have the time or equipment to manage with editing everything and storing it all. So we got it now.
We weren't a well-oiled machine at that point. We were just, we were like little eagles being thrown from the nest.
Yeah, we're like we're like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz.
Never seen Wizard of Oz, but
what?
No, I'm just kidding. I've seen it, but not completely. Look, man.
Nah, that hurts. That cuts deep.
I'm not a musical guy, man. I like music.
It's not even like.
I think the only.
Man, I don't even think of it as a musical when I think of The Wizard of Oz. Like, musical's not what comes to mind. Obviously there is some singing and whatnot, but it's good. You gotta go watch it. It's what, the first movie to ever use color.
I kind of blame Story Archives. Story Archives has killed my entire film watching habits. I can't really blame it for not watching Wizard of Oz, but the number of films I have watched in the last 3 years has greatly diminished. But then again, I've always been kind of a TV guy. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah, the TV shows are kind of where it's at. I love a good movie every now and then, though.
Look, I go into film snob mode every once in a while. There's a movie I really want to watch coming out. I've already seen the first one. I read the book, The Count of Monte Cristo, but they did an original in French version. And this movie's been made a couple times, but this one looks better than the one that I even think is good with Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce. That came out in the early 2000s. This one coming out is making some noise in the Venice Film Festival and things like that. So I'm excited for that. The Timothée Chalamet, Bob Dylan movie I want to go watch, and I kind of want to watch the Nosferatu movie.
That horror movie. I just saw the trailer for that last night.
It looks interesting. So if you've watched any of those, let me know. I'm hearing good things about all 3 of those. Well, I didn't hear anything good about the Bob Dylan one other than Timothée Chalamet going on like a massive media tour at the moment. Anyways, let's get back to the episode as we go here. A lot occurs. The most interesting thing in this episode is not that there might be somebody in Silo 17. The most interesting thing in this episode is going into the vault and seeing what was in the vault, in my opinion. We got to meet the algorithm, which was interesting.
Yeah.
We found out that the silo was built 352 years ago, and we know nothing more than that. And essentially, Bernard has an iPad that is called the Legacy that essentially you can speak to it and it gives you whatever you want. So this is just a big Apple plug. They slipped in their VR device. They slipped in an iPad. That's all this is. This is just a giant Apple ad. They're probably going to release the iOS silo in 2026. You can buy your spots there for the Apple silos, but
isn't the silo Apple Park circular building?
Pretty much. If you look at their main headquarters, it probably is a giant silo.
You never know
what it is.
Never know. Yeah, no. When that tablet came out, I was looking at that so intently. I'm like, is that the iPad Pro? It's a little different. It's not.
It was smaller.
Not the same, but I mean, come on. We're all looking at it. We're all thinking iPad.
What was your first thought when you saw the tablet? Because I'll tell you what mine was.
Cool. Is a tablet.
Mine was like the silo was built 352 years ago. So this tablet is 352 years old.
Mm.
And it's that responsive still. This technology is still this current. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, my battery dies after a few years, let alone 352 years.
So you think Apple's going to stop with yearly releases? Do you think that's what they're hinting at here?
Well, Apple did stop with yearly releases. They made an announcement on that with everything, I think, except the iPhone that will continue on an annual release cycle. But everything else been broken up to only launch when it's ready, which honestly, I feel like is a much better plan. Like I hate the feeling of like, oh, I need the next device. Like, no.
Stop doing the Call of Duty, abusing your consumer, right? Releasing a new game every year. That's a half-baked version of the previous one.
Oh yeah.
And then hitting us with like a freaking $2 billion marketing campaign to tell us about how many times better this one is than the last one.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, just release one like every 2 to 5 years, every 3 to 5 years. More hype. You're going to still sell a ton. Your consumer's going to be happier.
That's for sure.
Anyways, thoughts about Lucas as the Shadow. Is Bernard going overboard or is this going to pan out? Because everybody was against I think we both had a kind of joint theory that we think Bernard's going to have a redemption moment. And I feel like he's heading towards one in some sense by having Lucas as the Shadow. By essentially, he asked Lucas the question of, why do you think I want you to crack this? Like, why do you think I put you as Shadow? And he says, because you're more concerned about the issue that Quinn found than you are about the rebellion. So Bernard, now we're in a position now as the audience member where we're kind of rooting for Bernard to keep the ship afloat just long enough to find out what is in, what was the problem. But I don't know if he's going to have enough time. I think Sims might mess everything up and not really even realize it.
I mean, Sims, it definitely feels like Sims is on the path to just kind of screw things up unintentionally. Like, I don't think he's going to do it on purpose. And as far as like Bernard, on the path to a redeeming moment, we were talking about that before. I think we both agreed on that. And I think we're going to see that moment come in the form of a decision he has to make once Lucas cracks the code, hopefully in the next episode or two, because there's not that many episodes left, 8, 9, and 10, I believe.
Yeah. You think Juliette's making it across back to Silo 18?
I think we're going to end with her getting back into Silo 18, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because I didn't want to wait the entire season for that. But
the moment they said there was going to be 2 more seasons, I knew she wasn't gonna that. We're not gonna have any progression of anything going on with her in the old silo, or not the old silo, Silo 18, this season, because you can't have her come into, like, I'm thinking of this as a director, as a writer. You can't have her get there like episode 3.
No,
because then what do you do in season 3? You wasted kind of a whole season that you could have had of the political intrigue and the plotting that has been more fascinating than what she's doing with Solo. Let's be honest.
Oh, it's been much more interesting to watch Silo 18 than it has been Silo 17.
Yeah, which, we can talk about what she does in this episode because, this is the IR, right? Instant reaction. she goes full on scuba diving, and they say she's 8 levels deep, but that felt like she went about 40 levels deep to get to the bottom of the pump. Was that just me? That didn't feel like 8 levels.
Well, I mean, eight levels in like a normal home. I mean, that's like what, 80 feet? I don't know exactly how tall the ceilings are, but I imagine the floors are much taller than 10 feet within the silo. So that could have been hundreds of feet as far as I know that she had to dive down there and didn't get the bends on the way up. Like, WTF, really? I mean, maybe she will in the next episode. I don't know.
You ever seen those deep sea divers that go down and they expand their lungs and they spread their rib cage out, that type of thing, and they do like this diaphragm breathing? Mm-hmm. These guys sometimes die on the way back up. They can't make it in time to the surface. It's essentially the underwater equivalent of, I guess, what that guy did in Free Solo. I think that what that guy did is crazier. But what these people do is they go down hundreds of meters on one breath and they come back up. And that's essentially what she did with no training. She's essentially, they want us to believe she's become a master swimmer now.
Instantly, by the way. Like, there was no floundering around. It was just like, let me let go of this rope, and she took off.
And then let's talk about just a little bit, but not a lot. Solo's gone when she comes back up top.
Mm-hmm.
Why would the person, let's say Solo got hit over the head, because that's what it looked like, right? There was blood on the floor, and they dragged him off.
Mm-hmm.
Why would the person hit him in that moment while she's underwater? Are they privy to what she's doing? Did they want to get in the vault and they decided this was the moment to do it? Did Solo fake an injury and go back to the vault the moment the pump turned back on?
I don't think Solo faked an injury. I will stick to my assumption that somebody else is in there. I don't think Solo could have done that unless he just like really went off the deep end. But also, like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, if you sabotage the person that you know is like 80 plus feet down underwater, that's gonna, if she even makes it to the surface, be extremely sick, supposedly. Why beat yourself over the head with an axe? And I feel like I also saw an arrow in that scene. I'll have to rewatch that again when we get there, but I swear I saw like what looked like an arrow.
I thought it was like a crowbar. I didn't, Anyways, I don't know, man. Were they trying to stop Juliette in some regard? That it seems to me like the whole plan was to kill Juliette from whoever hit Solo across the head. Remember that map that Lucas Kyle found, the diagram. There are 2 tunnels, that go out. There's one in IT and there's one on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there might be a tunnel in IT that somebody could get into there if they wanted to, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to find out soon. I mean, we find out that, well, hey, it's not just an empty room in there that Solo's been living in for the last, 30, 40 years, 20 years, whatever it's been. He's got like a legit living. I mean, man, that library looks amazing. Like, I'd love to just sit in there. I wish I had that in my back room.
That library reminds me of
cozy.
There's this game called Detroit Become Human, which is becoming more and more relatable because it has everything to do with AI and robots and stuff. From one of my favorite game developers, I'm blanking on their name, but they made a game called Heavy Rain, which was like a
Quantic Dream,
yeah. That they do a lot of like choose your own adventure type stuff. Which is always fun because you could end up killing like the main character with just one stupid choice in the beginning. But that library reminded me of one of the characters in Detroit. So anyways, that's it for the instant reaction. Our audience is going to hate us because these episodes are like 12 to 15 minutes. But hey, you're in luck because we do a deep dive every single week and you can tune into that one where you can get all of our thoughts on episode 7 of Silo.
We do. And it will be the last episode of Story Archives for the year. So we won't see you until next year.
By the way, I started watching Squid Game season 2.
So did I. I watched the first episode.
I'm not making any promises. Let's talk off here. We're not going to talk about it.
We'll talk about that one later. But anyways, catch us in the deep dive for our final episode of the year. Peace.